Welcome to EnTrench, a 21 Pilots podcast. Hello, local dreamers. Welcome to EnTrench. My name is Annah, and this is episode 68, the Heathens music video. Make sure you watch the video beforehand and are ready for an in-depth analysis. And yeah, I don't have a good transition today. I'm just thinking how this is probably going to be pretty short. I admittedly have not seen this movie. I also have not seen anything from DC. And maybe this is a hot take. I've only seen a couple Marvel movies as well. I just kind of missed the whole superhero train. And honestly, the few times I've watched any, it felt very corny and cliche in a way that gets old for me very fast in terms of the dialogue. So if you know more layers to everything, I'm really not going to be addressing the character/movie portions of the video because I don't have the information. I don't know. And also because it's for the movie, I really don't think it kind of counts the same. I don't think you can really pull any sort of spiritual analysis from it because that's not the text itself. That's not the characters. That's not the storyline or anything like that. So I don't think it would even make sense to try to bring all of that into the analysis. But also because of that, that does make for a much shorter podcast. That being said, if you do know more about the movie, the characters, and feel that there could be or is some spiritual parallels or analysis or anything that makes the message of this song especially ideal for that world, please let me know and I'd love to share it with everyone because, again, it's just not my area of expertise. So the background of the song, this was released on June 21st, 2016 and was directed by Andrew Donahoe, and it has over 2.1 billion views, which is insane. I just shared on my Instagram, but I had a comment I wrote under this video from 8 years ago, and I exited out of the screen, but I basically was saying, like, even though the song is for a movie, I feel like it can stand on its own, and it is really timely because of all the crap going on in this world. I just thought it was really funny and cringy that I said crap. Like, clearly I was, like, irritated about something. It came out with me saying all that crap going on. It's like, I mean, it's kind of wholesome too, because honestly, I have kind of a potty mouth now, to be honest. Need to work on that, but yeah, I mean, 8 years ago was 2016, so political stuff, it was definitely a time to be alive. Not in a good way, but then, like, I mean, now it's 2024 and, you know, it's a whole other beast. So, yeah, that was just a random side tangent related to this video. But the other background is that it takes place in, I'm probably going to say this wrong, and I'm so sorry if you love DC, but the fictional prison in the DC universe that's called Belle Reve? ? And this also won Best Rock Video at the 2016 MTV Video Music Awards, so congratulations to this video. A lot of people under it seem to think the soundtrack for the movie is awesome, so that's probably also what made this song rise so high in their discography. Let's just jump right in. So, as we've already established, it takes place in a prison in the DC universe. I just noted that as a whole, obviously the prison is dark, but even outside it's very dark out and rainy and very gloomy atmosphere. Not very much hope going on here, and it feels pretty isolated from civilization. I noted that the sign for the prison says "Till death do us part," and so it kind of paints this image that everyone here is kind of here for a very long time, probably a life sentence, and yeah, the only way they can leave is death, hence "till death do us part." And I thought as a whole this brought a whole new layer to the song and the lyrics in a way that I feel the lyrics alone just don't possess. And so there's kind of a really cool parallel here with Paul's life in the Bible, and how Tyler and Josh are in this prison and among these prisoners throughout this video. And I think that's, simply put, the theme of this song, and how we were discussing like sharing the gospel within the first analysis. Well, if you pair that with them being in prison, hello, direct Paul correlation. So I wanted to pull up Philippians 1:12 through 14. I love Philippians, by the way. Okay, this says the advance of the gospel. And this is Paul speaking. I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel, so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to all the rest that my imprisonment is for Christ. And most of the brothers, having become confident in the Lord by my imprisonment, are much more bold to speak the word without fear. Obviously, in this sense, and in the parallel with the video, they are not supposed to be there. It's not like they wanted to be there in the first place, but they're able to really make it their own and still use their story for God's glory, which is, exactly how we are supposed to walk as Christians with any and every of our situations that we go through. And I like how it's basically like Paul just being Paul and Tyler and Josh just being Tyler and Josh. It makes others confident in the Lord, because obviously, like, if you're imprisoned with others and you're there for, as we're assuming in this video, like life sentences, you're going to find out a lot about people, get to know people, and obviously probably one of the first questions is, why are you here to begin with? In Paul's case, it was for his faith in Jesus. And so a Christian in this setting is really not able to hide, but also, like, because of that, you're inevitably going to, like, quickly find out who are also heathens, in that sense. And yeah, I think just as a whole, and coupled with the lyrics of this song with the prison environment, it very much emphasizes how people are just incredibly mistreated and also misunderstood in prison. There's a lot of corruption with prison as a whole, especially in the US. And even Paul is an example of people being put there for unfair reasons, or reasons that just may not entirely make sense to everyone. And that's definitely, something that still comes up with jail and such. I then noted that Josh, throughout the video, but as he's first introduced in his cell, has this glow going on. It's very much radiant, and I think he kind of shows how you, like, show up as you are, and for a spiritual purpose, that means bringing along hope, bringing along light, and bringing along an aura that is beyond the walls of containment. Once Tyler gets to his cell and is led there, they close the doors and everything, and then he grabs onto the bars and the background changes and he kind of morphs into a different timeline. And I just kind of noted how this shows that prison holds a history as well. It's not just about the people in there currently, but there's also a history of people who've been there before, let alone in like a single jail cell, and the amount of history that can sit there, of the predicaments and the pain before you, even possibly like etched in the walls or the floor. And as you can see, like, there's different drawings and things on the walls, I think all movie related, but I got really excited for a second because I was like, if anything even closely resembles something for future lore, I was about to lose my mind, but it's just movie related pictures. And then, of course, everyone's favorite part is when Josh floats by in his drums, and this is where we start seeing yellow crop up, which I think is cool, because it's kind of maybe not intentional, but it's a foreshadowing for Trench. Hello. And so once again, he kind of continues to emphasize the symbolism of bringing hope to a dark place and to people who are just really overwhelmed by being stuck in a place and being in a very stale environment and just needing renewal. You know, he's very much representing renewal, literally, with the lighting. And I just thought that was also interesting that was Josh's kind of image throughout this video, because that also plays into the theory that he's Jesus in a lot of the storylines. I also noted that he opened the cell door as he was passing by, and that is also very scriptural and very symbolic of Christ. And there's two verses in particular that I pulled out to really drive this home. The first of which is Psalm 69:33. They're actually both in Psalms. For the Lord hears the needy and does not despise his own people who are prisoners, which also alludes to Paul and dozens, hundreds of other people who were imprisoned for their faith and who continue to be imprisoned for their faith to this day. And then the other verses are Psalm 102:18-22. Let this be recorded for a generation to come, so that a people yet to be created may praise the Lord, that he looked down from his holy height. From heaven the Lord looked at the earth, to hear the groans of the prisoners, to set free those who were doomed to die, that they may declare in Zion the name of the Lord, and in Jerusalem his praise, when peoples gather together, and kingdoms to worship the Lord. And it really is such a beautiful picture, and even like such a beautiful blessing that God would even put believers in prison, because man, do those people need him so desperately, right? And the only way some of them could probably have him is if there's other Christians in prison with them. And to just think and consider that there's this room in this video of people who all have life sentences, how desperately, how more urgently than anyone else do those people need the gospel and something to set them free that's going to matter a whole lot more than being able to walk out of their prison cell, but to be able to walk into eternity and have eternal life. It's just, that image is just so powerful to me. Like, it's just one more huge mercy and beautiful way that God continues to sew everything together in a way that's needed. And I just think that's the perfect example of God taking really horrible circumstances and yet simultaneously needing those injustices and unfairness to happen so that certain people can hear the good news. So I thought that was very thought-provoking and poignant, and yeah, Josh and his light definitely reminded me of that throughout this video. The need for believers to go where non-believers are, even if it means sacrificing their comfort and even safety along the way. Tyler and Josh end up meeting up outside of the cells in what I'm presuming is the basement, and it's for a celebration and music. And again, I think part of the hope that is in this video is also emphasized through music, as it usually always is. The way that they're able to bring life to this very dead environment through sound and music. And so then we see, well, first of all, I just noted Tyler also had his yellow blazer, which I just desperately would like to own myself. Tyler, if you're out there and you still own that, can I buy it off you? Where did you get it? It's so nice. Which I'm so curious if at this time they were already like planning Trench and were just very discreetly foreshadowing with their color palette. I like to think so. You would think so, right? Because they I feel like they've done that multiple times. So anyway, just wanted to, again, note the yellow because why wouldn't I? And then the prisoners all come down and surround them as well. And Tyler and Josh have this moment where they're like very afraid. And I thought it was interesting that Tyler's scarring was also like prominent in this scene, and we see that he had like cuts earlier in the video and such, and so you can't help but wonder, like, were they beat up before, like, by other prisoners, which then like instills fear as soon as they're all surrounded by them again. But obviously, like, they're not there to harm them, they're just there to also celebrate and have unity rather than additional division. But yeah, I think this also just relates to the fact that, like, some people will hear the truth and will reject it or even hurt you for it because of either how they've been hurt by it or just their stubbornness and general hatred. And so that also reminded me of how, like, you can bring joy, but also, like, you're inevitably going to have people who reject you and scorn you. You know, that attitude of people towards Jesus as he was being crucified and everything leading up to it is still very much prevalent throughout all of history and in our modern world today. And while a lot of what we might see in a first world country is mostly through like the screen and people being very passive aggressive, there's still very much like open public hostility in other parts of the world as well towards Christianity. And in that regard, it definitely puts into perspective how fortunate we are to be able to express as much spiritually as we are able to in the US culture, especially. Because even in Europe, there's like far less Christianity. I'm always curious when I have friends who go to different countries, like what it's like there. And yeah, we truly have so many Christian options. Basically anything you could possibly want with Christianity in the US, we have. And I feel like that's actually pretty unique compared to the rest of the world, the accessibility to Christianity that we have here. And then, of course, I noted at the end that Tyler ends up being surrounded by the guards and recaptured. And I mean, is that not just the perfect preview of what Trench and Clancy and Scale Nicey are all about? This cycle of escaping and being trapped again. So another foreshadow, even if not intentional, but also you can be free internally, you can be free spiritually with Christ, but that doesn't mean, and it's certainly not going to guarantee that you are free on earth, on this side of eternity. And that's also a sobering and humbling reminder that we're not deserving of anything. Everything has been freely given to us through grace by faith in Jesus Christ. So lest we forget, we've not earned anything. We don't deserve anything. We very much, I was just talking with a friend, we very much live in a culture that's like, I deserve this, and these people should treat me better because that's what I deserve. And again, it's not like, you know, there's like, everyone deserves love and respect and everything like that. So it's not like you don't deserve love and respect, but like, considering how often and constantly that we turn away from God, it's like, actually, like, I realistically deserve to be smote down because I'm so good at idolizing other things that are not God and prioritizing God wrongly and rejecting him and mocking him and downplaying him and, you know, just all of those things. And so obviously, with this jail example, it's a lot more severe, but in general, it's really a humbling reminder that we're not owed anything, right? We have not earned God's favor through our actions at all. It's only through Jesus that we are able to have any sort of hope in a future, and every good gift is from God. There's a reason that's a saying, because it's true. And so by and large, I think this video brings good layers to the meditations on sharing the gospel and attitudes of Christians toward non-Christians and vice versa. And also it adds on like this practical application of going into dark places and spreading the light that is so needed and desired by the people there, even if they don't know that that's what they're looking for. And that's the other cool thing about God, is he's so needed, he's so deeply desired in everyone's deepest desires. They just kind of, I feel like everyone needs it spoken to them in a different language, right? So the way that they're uniquely wired and what their unique cravings and desires are, because ultimately it always does come back to God. And that's like the crazy thing, is he's wired our hearts to crave him. And it's also like kind of sad too that like for believers it's so easy to see those connections, and yet some people just don't want to see it, refuse to see it, and how all their desires could easily be satisfied by their God, who desperately loves and wants them. But I feel like God is also not a God of coercion, and even though he's just, it just gets into that whole sticky realm of like free will. But I don't think God is a God of coercion, so I don't think he would ever want to force someone to follow him if they did not want to. So anyway, that's basically all of the thoughts that I had. I feel like I just started getting really in my head near the end, but I think really that's all I had. There was not too much to the video. So if you have any other thoughts about the DC realm that it's set in, the characters, the movie as a whole, and how this Christian narrative fits into it all, I would love to hear that. I'm sure others would love to hear that as well. But yeah, I think we can round off the songs here and get ready for a fun album wrap-up. And that being said, I do want any questions that you have for me, any other random thoughts on Blurryface, on Heathens, just send it all over. Send it all over in whatever method is easiest for you. And I'm very excited to recap it all and reflect on it all. I feel like it's been kind of few and far between, just with my varying mental state and schedule, but I'm excited to kind of pull all the pieces together and go through them all with you. And I always enjoy like the themes in each song, but it's also so fun to see all the themes on a larger scale too with the albums. So I definitely always look forward to the album wrap-ups, but then it's also like a very bittersweet feeling of one less album we get to talk about, but also now we have like one additional album we'll have to talk about too, so I guess it kind of balances out. I hope all of you are doing well. I hope you're listening to some good music, or just streaming Clancy over and over. I don't blame you. Yeah, I hope you have a great August. I hope you have a great rest of your summer. I hope you're enjoying the Olympics. I know I am. Simone Biles makes me cry. And oh my gosh, I was watching so much badminton this past weekend, and I love watching it. It's so intense. And ping pong too. But anyway, I will talk to you guys very soon for the album wrap up. And yeah, I guess time to like properly intro out. Now I've like mentioned the wrap up multiple times already. But remember, you can email EnTrenchPodcast@gmail.com with a written account of your 21 Pilots story or your favorite memories you have related to the band, or memories you want to make at your next concert. Woo woo! Can I get an amen? You can also reach out with an episode request if you want to analyze a song, video, or album with me. If you'd like to contribute to the analysis we've already covered, especially Heathens, you can send an email or message me on Instagram at EnTrench_pod. You can find EnTrench on Podbean, Verbal, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. I look forward to hearing from you. Tune in next time for the Blurryface album wrap-up. Thank you so much for listening, friends. Stay alive, and remember, EnTrench, you're not alone.